Premeditated's Throne of Thunder Raid Guide. My name is Dubs, and today we'll be going over the 10-man version of the Council of Elders. This is the third encounter in the Throne of Thunder instance and is of similar difficulty to Horadon. You'll want 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and 5 to 6 DPS, depending on the strength of your raid. The encounter focuses on 4 tribe leaders of the 4 troll empires that have joined the Zandalari in aiding Lei Shin. These trolls are Frost King Malik, Khazarjin, Sul the Sandcrawler, and High Priestess Marley. Each boss has a separate health pool and unique abilities, however Spiritbinder Garajal has returned and will imbue each troll with augmented abilities when he possesses one of them. There are many working pieces of this fight, so we're going to go over each of the bosses and then the strategy for defeating the encounter. I'll first be going over the Spirit of Garajal. The fight revolves around him possessing a council member and causing that member to gain dark energy. This process takes about 90 seconds the first time he possesses a council member, and once they reach 100 energy, they'll begin to channel an ability called Dark Power. Dark Power starts off dealing very low damage, but starts to ramp up in damage until it wipes your raid, or you deal 25% of that council member's total health. Each time Garajal leaves a council member, they deal 10% more damage per stack, and they gain Dark Power more quickly during their next possession. The first boss that will be empowered is always Frost King Malik, so I'll go over him first. He has 2 abilities, Biting Cold and Frigid Assault. Biting Cold is randomly placed on a ranged DPS or healer and lasts 30 seconds and deals a moderate amount of frost damage to the player and anyone within 4 yards of that player. When Frost King Malik is possessed, this ability turns into Frostbite, which deals a large amount of frost damage to the player with 5 stacks. These stacks can be reduced by having up to 2 players stack on the affected raid member, and each player stacked removes 2 stacks, but it will not go lower than 1. Frigid Assault is the tank swap mechanic of this fight. Every so often he'll activate this buff, which causes him to begin putting stacks of Frigid Assault on the tank. The buff on the boss lasts 30 seconds, and the debuff on the tank lasts 15 seconds. If the stacks reach 15, the tank he is attacking will be stunned for 15 seconds. It is highly advisable to have the other tank taunt off at about 10 to 12 stacks before this happens. Next I'll cover High Priestess Marley. She also has 2 abilities that she will use regularly, Wrath of the Loa and Blessed Loa Spirit. Wrath of the Loa is an interruptible cast that deals a decent amount of holy damage to her target. She will always attempt to cast this on her current threat target. While possessed, this ability deals shadow damage. Her other ability is Blessed Loa Spirit. She'll cast this ability regularly throughout the fight, and it causes the spirit to appear next to her and begin making its way to the most injured council member. If the Loa Spirit reaches its target, the council member is healed for 5% of their total health. These should be rooted, stunned, slowed, and killed as quickly as possible. When possessed, this ability turns into Shadowed Loa Spirit and causes the ad to focus on a ranged DPS or healer and begin moving towards them. If the spirit reaches its target, they will instantly die. Same thing with these. Root, stun, and slow the ad and make sure it dies quickly. The spirits will automatically jump to their target after 20 seconds, so they need to be burned fairly quickly. Next up is Khazarjin. Khazarjin doesn't do much more than roll around throughout the fight. If you're caught in the path of his roll, you'll take a small amount of major damage, and if you're at their impact point, you'll take some damage and be knocked in the air for a second. Whenever Khazarjin is possessed, he'll be stunned after each roll and begin casting Overload for 20 seconds. During this time, 50% of all damage done to him is reflected back as nature damage to the player, so you'll need to be careful when using damage cooldowns, and make sure you're popping defensive CDs to mitigate some of this damage and not kill yourself while trying to DPS him. Overall, Khazarjin is the least of your worries throughout this encounter. The final counselor is Sul the Sandcrawler. Sul is the most problematic counselor of the 4. He has 2 abilities, Sandbolt and Quicksand. Sandbolt is an ability that targets a random raid member and deals nature damage to the target and anyone within 5 yards of that target. This cast is interruptible, and it is advised that you do so when possible. Quicksand is an ability he will cast at a random ranged DPS or healer and cause a sand pool to form at their feet. This will cause a player to be ensnared and gain a stacking debuff every second, causing you to have 15% reduced movement speed per stack and become rooted at 5 stacks. The root is dispellable, so healers should be quick to dispel should someone stand in the poo too long. When Sul is possessed, Quicksand will morph into an ability called Sandstorm. Sandstorm causes raid-wide damage, and healer CDs as well as personal CDs should be used to mitigate this damage. Also, every time Sandstorm is cast, Adds called living sand will spawn from any quicksands that are on the ground. When these adds are killed, they will once again return to being quicksand pools. If sandstorm is cast again and living sand are still alive, they will get a damage buff, be healed to full, so they need to be killed before the next sandstorm. Also be aware that it might be difficult for tanks to pick up the living sands immediately, so use threat dumps, misdirects, and tricks to help out your tanks. Now for actually killing this boss. We found it much easier to pop Bloodlust, potions, and damage cooldowns at the start and burn Soul as much as possible during the duration of Bloodlust. Once Bloodlust is over, we had all DPS, except for a melee, focus Malik down to break his possession before he started casting Dark Power. The goal should be to burn Soul down before he ever gets empowered, thus making the fight dramatically easier and reducing the healing requirements. Soul should be tanked about 30 yards away from where Marley is being tanked, so Blessed Loa Spirits have some travel time to allow your DPS to kill them. Once Soul dies, simply DPS whoever is possessed while dealing with their abilities appropriately. Making good use of cleaves and multi-dotting can ease some of the DPS requirements for this encounter, since the fight only gets easier as counselors begin to fall. Otherwise, good luck. See you at the next boss.